What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the contract to close process when you're representing the seller. Now, what contract to close simply means is whenever you're the listing agent representing the seller, what is the process? Who are the third-party people that you need to be in contact with? What forms and documents do you need? And how do you communicate this process to the seller? Go ahead and get your notebooks ready to take some notes. And if you guys have any questions, leave me a comment down below. So without further ado, let's get started. You're the listing agent, you listed a property, you've been marketing a home, and now you've just received an offer. What do you do? The first thing I want to make sure that you guys are aware of is that there are possibilities where you may receive multiple offers, meaning that you have more than one offer on the table within a certain time frame. During this time period, your seller has two options. They can entertain the offer that they feel the most comfortable with, or you can go into what's called a bidding war, meaning that you would send out a form called the multiple offer notification form. With this form, you're going to send to every buyer's agent who sent you an offer, and on this form is going to give their buyer the option to either rescind their offer, put in a new offer, or keep their offer the same. So your seller decides to move forward with an offer. Now we're going to negotiate. Now, within this process, there are three main places we're going to negotiate. We're going to negotiate the initial offer, we're going to negotiate the repairs, and we're going to negotiate the appraisal. So here at this moment, you're going over the buy-sell agreement with your client. Be sure to inform your client that everything on this offer is negotiable. Everything from the price, home warranties, closing times, financing, timelines, inspection time frames, all of that is negotiable. So go over the offer with your client, and at this point you can let your seller know that they can either accept, decline, or counter an offer. If they accept it, we're under contract, we have a fully executed contract. If they decline it, pretty self-explanatory. They don't want the offer, they can go on about their business and continue marketing the property, or they can counter, which means they like the offer, but they want to change a few things with it. If they want to counter, there's a counter offer form. It's pretty self-explanatory. You change the terms from the contract that your seller wants, and you're going to submit it to the buyer. And then from that point, the buyer can either accept, decline, or counter that offer as well. Moving forward, let's say that your seller has found an offer that they want to go ahead and accept. Once they accept the offer, we have all initials and signatures. We are now under contract. One thing that you want to be sure of is before you accept this offer, make sure that you have a proof of funds letter from the buyer showing that they have the money to purchase the home. Once we're under contract, you as the listing agent, you guys should have talked about where you want to close. Once you have that title company identified, you as the listing agent, go ahead and reach out to the title company, introduce yourself, let them know who you are, because they're going to ask you about your client. They're going to ask for some of their information so we can go ahead and get the ball rolling with them. And that is called opening escrow. Also, during this time period, be sure to stay on top of your client to make sure that they're meeting all deadlines. So we accepted the offer. We contacted the title company, and now we're into the inspection period. Now, let your client know that the inspection period starts the day after the offer gets accepted. So if the offer gets accepted January 1, the inspection period starts January 2. As the listing agent, be sure to let your clients know that they need to keep all utilities on during the entire process. Also, if there are any points in time where the buyer needs access to the property, but the seller does not allow them access for whatever reason, that the inspection period gets extended one extra day automatically. Now, with the inspection, you can let your seller know that the buyer is going to send whoever they want to send out to the property within this time frame that we agreed on to get the home looked at. They can send out home inspectors, pest inspectors, lead-based paint inspector, water inspector, whoever they want to send out, they can send those people out within that time period. This is the second point of the process where we're going to negotiate. The buyer is going to send a list of things and items that they want taken care of, and your seller has the option to either fix all, fix some, fix none. They can lower the sales price. They can offer concessions. There's a lot of different things that they can do depending on what the buyer wants to get taken care of. Once the buyer's request is sent over and we have the back and forth, once everyone agrees on the repairs that are going to be made, now we're going to move into the appraisal process. Now, with the appraisal process, the buyer's lender is going to send out a random appraiser to appraise the property. Once the appraiser comes back with the value of your home, it could either be higher than what the offer was, it could be the exact amount that the offer was, or it could be lower than what the offer was. If it's higher, you guys already agreed on a certain number, we can't go back and change that. And the buyer isn't obligated to show you the appraisal if it's higher than what was agreed upon. If the appraisal comes in lower, we can go back in, renegotiate, And also we can go back in and talk to the lender, talk to the appraiser, and try to get a higher sales value. But that's going to be on you to find comps justifying a higher value than what the appraiser found. Now, during this process, once we get to the appraisal, we're probably going to be about 3 weeks into this process. So throughout the entire process, be sure that you guys are constantly contacting the buyer's agent to make sure that they have everything that they need, and also contacting the title company to see if there's anything that you need from your sellers. So let's say the appraisal came back, everything is good. Now we're going to move towards closing. Now, this should have already been discussed, but now you're going to let your seller know that 5 days before closing, the buyers are going to do the final walkthrough. During the final walkthrough, they're going to do one last walk through the home to make sure all of the repairs were made and that there are no further damage done to the home. Now, sometime during this time period, once we get closer to the end, the title company is going to send out the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure lets the buyer know all of the fees that were associated with buying his home and what they need to bring to closing, if anything. And your side, as the listing agent, the seller's going to have a column to show all of the things that they're accountable for paying and any money that they need to bring to closing, if anything. Now, you as the listing agent, once you get the closing, it's good practice for you to bring all of the documentation that the seller and the buyer signed in the event that some documentation or some paperwork wasn't submitted. And with this being your first closing, you're probably going to be a little nervous to begin with, but the only thing you're going to need to do for the most part is sign in a couple witness spots. But you're just going to sit there and make sure that everything is going smoothly. Make sure you talk to your seller and make sure that they bring any gate codes, any garage openers, any keys, any access to the property to closing with them to transfer over to the buyer. And also make sure that they have all their utilities turned off by closing unless specified otherwise. And lastly, guys, it is very, very important that you communicate with your seller, the buyer, and the closing attorney all throughout this entire process, because the last thing that you want is for something to be missed come closing day. This is pretty straightforward. Of course, once you do enough transactions, you're going to run into some things that weren't discussed in this video, but an ideal transaction is going to go the way that we described here. But stay on top of your sellers, make sure that they're meeting deadlines, and make sure that they're not being difficult for the buyers to do what they need to do. That's all I have today, guys. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful in any way, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you have any questions about anything in this video, leave me a comment down below. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to work hard, stay focused, and be elite. And as always, thanks for watching.